Well, I trust your Lent is off to a good start, that you've eaten a lot of fish, drank a lot of beer, all those kind of really important Catholic things that we do during Lent. Our liturgy committee this year has this image of what it's called Light of the World is the name of the painting. The original hangs in St. Paul's Cathedral in London. Those of you who've been in Alpha have seen this image before, because in Alpha they talk about it because it's the famous first one of these where Jesus is knocking at a door, only there's no way for him to open the door from the outside. There's no handle on the door. Only from the inside can the door be opened. And clearly in this version of the painting, it isn't opened very often because there's all kinds of weeds and stuff growing in front of the door. So the light of the world is knocking on our door. So the committee wanted us to reflect on that this Lent, that we won't need to, as we're doing during our weekly mission, looking for a deeper yes, an opening of the door to let Jesus deeper into our hearts. So you've probably all been doing some Lenten penance or some special things for Lent. At least I was at several meetings this past week at the diocesan level where the meetings all began with, well, what did you give up for Lent? Or what are you doing for Lent? And so everybody's somewhere a little bit embarrassed and like, well, I know it's like a week after Ash Wednesday and I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do. I'm still trying to decide, or I gave up Facebook, or I gave up TV or beer or whatever, different things that people had chosen to do. So if you haven't yet, as I looked at our readings tonight, I'm going to offer you 3 suggestions from those 3 readings that maybe you hadn't considered. The first one comes from God, and he gives it to Peter, because Peter is there. The transfiguration is taking place. Peter's there, and what does Peter do? He talks. So he just talking away. This is great. It's so wonderful that we're here on the mountain. Let's stay here for a long time. Let's make tents. It'll be great. And what does God say to him? Shut up. That's really what God says, but he doesn't say it in such rude language. He says, listen to him. This is my beloved son. Listen. So I'd suggest that what God told Peter to do for Lent is something maybe all of us could try. For our Lenten thing, we're going to listen. To listen to God, maybe to spend a few moments in prayer, listening. Because I think most of us in our prayer are talking. And maybe most of us in our life are talking. So oftentimes I'm just surprised that people don't listen well. I can be at a meeting and we can just have discussed something, and then as soon as we're through discussing it, somebody will say, well, what about? And I think, we just spent the last 10 minutes talking about the very thing you just asked us about. Because your mind was busy with something else. Like how many times in a conversation are we preparing what we're going to say and hoping that that person would just be quiet so I can say what I want to say instead of listening. So I think with God, too, we tend to talk a lot and tell God what we want instead of listening. So perhaps this Lent we could listen. And then based off that second reading, Paul writing to the Romans about this incredible gift that we receive from Jesus, if we're really listening to what St. Paul is teaching, then we really should not be anxious and upset about things in life. So maybe for a Lenten penance, we could just let go of some of our fears, let go of some of our anxiety, and because God loves us, and God did this amazing thing for us, and even the worst thing in life, death, has been conquered. So just to let go. The next time you're feeling anxious, the next time you're feeling fearful, do this Lenten penance. Let go. Let go of it. And trust that God will take care of it. So listen or let go. Then I'm going to suggest a strange one for the third. Because that first reading today, that's a very traumatic moment. Abraham is to take his son and sacrifice his son. And we hear that whole story. But I would like to imagine what it was like afterwards. After they found the ram stuck in the bush and they sacrificed the ram, what a great lightness probably came over them as they went down the mountain. Abraham going up the mountain would have been just dreading this whole thing, and Isaac didn't know what was going on. But coming down the mountain, I bet they laughed. I bet laughter was all the way down that mountain because of a lightness they would have had. Sitting at the airport Monday night, coming back from Guatemala, there was a guy across in the waiting area there in Atlanta, and he had a book with all kinds of weird information in it, and he kept telling it to the people sitting around him. Did you know, and then he'd quiz them, how many times a day does a 6-year-old laugh? The average 6-year-old laughs 300 times a day, according to the book he was looking at. How often does an adult laugh on average a day? 13 times. 6-year-olds are laughing 300 times a day, and we adults laugh 13 times a day. So for your Lenten penance, I'm suggesting you laugh, like Abraham and Isaac probably did. That we remember what it's like to be a child again, to trust our God enough, that nothing can frighten us. But like Jesus, we can even laugh at death. We have so many people in this world of ours who are burdened. And as Christians, we should be able to lighten those burdens, to laugh. So those three things, if you haven't picked something yet, or you might, instead of just giving up beer or candy or whatever you've given up, try listening, letting go, and laughing.